Tucson is so connected in different cultures that people from lots of different backgrounds are all in the same area. Everything's very centralized in Tucson, so we have this great sense of a small town community going on downtown with a bunch of different backgrounds like a larger town would have, which is why a lot of people call Tucson like a big small town.
The bark all turned to charcoal and the people burned real slow. Then chastity and purity made the blackness turn to snow, and the trees grew beards and eyes, and it was no surprise that their fingers grabbed my throat and choked, and burning people were burning willows.
Did the camera have to get out?
I think she went out. Wait, come on! What are you doing? I organize a festival called Brutal Sunfest, and I set up shows for touring bands all the time and try to get local bands connected with touring bands from all over the country. Try to get touring bands to recognize Tucson as a cool place to play and place to visit. And I essentially try to promote and support bands and shows as much as possible.
What do you think of Boris's band?
I think they suck.
Like when I moved to Minnesota, that's what I realized. When I was there, I was like, oh, okay, I don't really miss home, and I don't even necessarily like miss people that much, because like you can meet people anywhere. That's what I was like. There's just like this dirty, like our music's not super good, but it's just dirty, and the people who play it are a little bit dirty too, which makes the music better. That's literally all Tucson is to me, is just dirty music.
Dry River is a collectively run space, so there's no bosses, nobody's in charge. We make decisions together, and we receive no funding from any governmental organizations. Everything has been donation-based since day one, pretty much. So should I just do like I did, or should I say like, so this is Dry River?
Yeah.
So this is Dry River. Over here is the free store. People donate and take clothes and other assorted items as they want to. We try to keep it fairly manageable, keep out the broken stuff, and keep useful things for people in here. So we try to provide useful and useful information that doesn't always get out there to the mainstream so much.
You can do whatever you want to do here. You just have to do it in a certain way. So, if you want to be involved in film or music, or you want to be a banker or whatever you want to do, you can do it here. You just have to, market yourself in a certain way, target your actions in a particular way as well. So it's just about learning what's going on. A lot of the times people misrepresent Tucson for the rest of Arizona, because there are some backwoods places that do things very strangely in my eyes, and it doesn't make any sense. But Tucson is usually, thought of as a little more liberal town.
There's a strong conservative element in Arizona, mainly from Phoenix, which is a fairly conservative Republican area. And because so much of the population is concentrated there, population of the state, that sort of carries the way the state goes. Very concerned about the border, very concerned about the security, their security, because of what they perceive to be the large number of migrants coming in unlawfully without status. They refer to them as illegal aliens.
Feels relatively safe.
I I think so.
I think so too, especially in the neighborhoods. Yeah.
Except for our governor, Jan Brewer. Except for her, I don't feel safe here in Tucson. Seriously. She's gonna ruin our education for our future youth. Art and a lot of different music programs are being taken out of our state along with others. There's a lot of people in the state government in Phoenix who are Republicans who want to limit the ability of Tucson as a city to do its own thing with its school. Like with the school classes, with Mexican American studies and things like that. And they wanna control the way the city operates and the way we do things. And it's very undemocratic, and it's very negative and creates a lot of problems between the people of Tucson and the state government in Phoenix.
So SB 1070 was a law that was passed a little over a year ago that requires law enforcement to check the immigration status of people that they suspect are undocumented. So that obviously has opened up a big can of worms, and there's tons of people fighting it and tons of people supporting it.
Once we walked there, we had lunch, we came back, and there was a group of about probably a couple hundred Hispanic-looking people, Mexican-looking people, standing in line waiting to get into the U.S. And as we were standing, thinking it's going to take hours, Border Patrol walked all the way up to us, signaled at us to come to the front of the line, and he pointed to a room, and there was a separate room for Caucasian-looking people, and there was no line at all. We immediately went in there. I pulled out my driver's license. The guy just looked at it, and he scanned it, and he said, "Oh, looks good." And off I was, and that was it. And anybody who looked Hispanic, had to wait hours to get across. So that's how easy it was to get across the border in 2008, depending.
Ironically, to me, most of the people who live along the border don't feel this way. The people who live along the border, the people in Phoenix, are 150 miles away.
There's probably more Hispanic people in politics in Tucson than there are Caucasian people, and they have more power and more influence, and you feel more like you're in old Mexico when you're in Tucson, and you don't feel that way in Phoenix. Phoenix is more like LA.
So there's a real dichotomy of perception about how dangerous the situation is. The people who are farther north and whiter seem to be a lot more afraid than the people who are along the border and more familiar with the culture.
Culturally, this is a great place, and there's a lot of people who really support immigration issues in southeastern Arizona, and so I'm really happy to be here because unlike Phoenix, we don't have a police chief or sheriff who wants to go out and try to arrest everybody who's an illegal immigrant. And
there's a sheriff who's gotten a lot of national news recently in Pinna County, which is Sheriff Babu, who has gotten a lot of press for his strong issues about illegal immigration and security.
It's the fact that all levels of police are able to use SB 1070 as a reason to check people's immigration status or citizenship status has caused a lot of trouble for people in the community. A lot of people have gone back to Mexico, and then a lot of people just live with that sort of fear.
And a bunch of bands decided to skip Arizona on their tours because of a lot of the SB 1070 stuff that happened a couple of years ago. And that was just crazy to me. I was like, that's wild that they would, not try to not, how do I say this? They would try to avoid a place that needs the most help in their eyes. They think this place needs help and guidance or whatever, and not being racist, which is all kind of craziness. And I even had some people in Massachusetts not book my band because we were from Arizona. which I was like, that's equally crazy. Like, didn't make any sense. They said that we had to pick a side because we're in a race war or something like that. I was like, you live in Boston. This has nothing to do with Arizona. You don't know what's going on.
I guess I don't know how much I can say because the only involvement I ever choose to have in politics is being critical of it.
The people who are boycotting Arizona for labeling it all as one place because of the state border, or labeling it as a racist place or a hateful place is really upsetting, especially because a lot of people just they'll say things and not do any research or find out what's going on or why things are happening.
Was there anything that you feel you would like to say to people who are watching who are from other states and unaware of what's going on in Tucson? Or
I could say not everybody in Arizona is insane.
And not every place is for everybody, but as far as the Tucson community, I think there's a really positive, awesome thing going on here.
And I'll never be a part of this cursed fucking town, so we stand amongst ourselves and watch it burn.